Hello and welcome to the Calling the Real You podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Horton, and I call the real you out each and every week with special guests like the one we have today. Today we are talking with Guy Finley, and we're going to be discussing the secret of letting go. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to just completely let go of anxiety and stress so that you can receive peace and happiness? Well, today we're going to get some questions answered, and it's an absolute honor to be introducing Guy today. His message is absolutely one of the truest, brightest lights in our world, and his ideas cut straight to the heart of our most important personal and social issues, such as our relationships, addiction, fear, stress and anxiety, and of course peace, happiness, and freedom that lead the way to a higher life. He's authored over 35 books and audio programs and has sold over 1 million copies in 16 languages worldwide. In addition, Guy has presented over 4,000 unique self-realization seminars to thousands of grateful students throughout North America and Europe. He's been a guest on hundreds of television and radio shows, including appearances on ABC, NBC, CBS, and more. And it is an absolute honor to be bringing him to you today on the Calling the Real You podcast. Guy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Pamela. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and thank you. I mentioned this earlier. Thank you for sharing your energy with me, but really more importantly, thank you for sharing your time and energy with the audience. The topic of letting go is very important, and it's very sensitive to many folks. And I would love to know, how is it that you got to be doing the work that you're doing today? If just a few minutes, if you could share with us. Right? In a few minutes, a whole lifetime, I know.
Let me summarize the last 45 years of writing books.
Okay.
Look, the real simple answer is I was born and raised into an extremely successful family. My running mates as a child were the children of the celebrity illuminata of the age, and everywhere I went, from the time I was 7 years old until I began in earnest the search, which was only about 6 years later, I could not reconcile the contradiction between the amount of pain that I could see in the lives and the faces and the hearts and minds of men and women who, by all accounts, should have been the happiest people on earth, and for that matter, my own growing anxiety as a child, being raised in a world where, and I didn't know it at the time, appearance mattered more than being. So in an effort to understand what this pain was about, why there was so much dysfunctional relationship everywhere I went, I began my own search as a child. And that's how I learned what I'm writing about today, not by avoiding the things that most of us want to avoid, but rather by going into it with somehow an understanding that if I have a wish to know the truth of something, I didn't put that wish in myself, but rather the truth itself led me to find it in myself through my environment and my culture.
I love the statement, appearance mattered more than being. And that is a really great segue. Well, first of all, thank you for doing the work that you're doing. It's, in my humble opinion, imperative. There is a lot of pain, a lot of childhood wounds that are still very much existent in adults today, and letting go can be a wee bit scary for some people, right? Is it really possible to let go and remain in charge of our lives?
The real question, Pamela and listeners, is if I'm holding on without knowing it to a certain range of identities produced moment to moment by the changing conditions around me, so that at any drop of a hat, I can become someone angry or anxious, or for that matter, joyful and exuberant, but unable to stay within myself in any one of those characters. If the real question is, how can I afford to hold on? How can I remain the kind of human being who, honestly, most of us have made a pact where we just kind of want to avoid the conditions that produce conflict and pursue the pleasures that promise us a better life. That's not life. Real life doesn't have avoidance in it. Letting go is the discovery that there is nothing that you have to fear once you're willing to enter into that nature in yourself and realize that. Then letting go is no different than seeing a bear walk in your bedroom. You don't have to think to yourself, what do I do to get out of here? Intelligence guides you. It's the same thing with letting go, Pamela.
So why is it so difficult then for people to do just that?
Because our minds are asleep, Pamela. We believe that who we are depends upon what we have and how others consider us. Any mind, any life that is predicated in the belief that my value as an individual is only as precious as other people agree to is in fact a life lived with fear and in resistance to any condition that challenges that. Letting go is an inside job, not an outside job. The problem isn't the condition that I don't want. The problem is that there's something in me, and listeners, you might want to write this down. This is incredibly important. The problem is there's something in me that doesn't understand that resistance to a condition is the same as identifying with it. Resistance to any condition is the exact same thing as being identified with it, which means the more I don't want a circumstance, the more I think about it. The more I think about it, the more I derive that sense of of myself from it, which means I become a captive, not of the condition, Pamela, but of a consciousness that doesn't know it's set against itself. One last thought. When I see that my mind is set against itself, but in the dark of itself, not knowing that, the reason letting go is so hard is because what am I really letting go of in that moment other than a very familiar sense of myself? That's why letting go is hard, because it's me that I have to let go of, not you, not they, and not it.
I'm hearing you, and I'm trying to avoid the deep thought because obviously we're having a conversation. I'm interviewing you, but I'm having one of those those clarifying moments.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit like though so I practice this, right? I'm nowhere. I'm a practice of it. I'm a student of it, meaning letting go and becoming a better version of myself and not being attached to material things, etc. And walking my path and what have you. And there have been times when letting go, and of course when talking with other people as well, or when I receive questions from the listeners, in the process of it, you do feel like you might be losing your mind a little bit. I mean, can you speak to that? What would you say?
Listen to me. This is between you and me now. Don't you be afraid of that. What if I told you you can't lose what you don't have? We imagine that we have a certain kind of sanity, and in scale, meaning in the world, we're not walking around and patting our heads and rubbing our tummies and speaking gibberish. But you tell me, how sane is it to get anxious over anything.
Oh, it's not sane at all.
Exactly.
It's not sane
How,
at all. Yeah.
how sane is it? Listeners, listen, write this down. No psychological fear exists without negative imagination. No psychological fear exists without negative imagination. What this means to us is that when we're afraid or anxious, it's because our own mind has reacted to an event, told us what the event is, its meaning, and what it's going to cause to happen to us. And then that mind looks at its own negative image and fears itself. How sane is it for a man or a woman to live in fear of what their own mind makes an object out of?
Not sane at all.
Exactly. But for us, it's every day, Pamela. Every day we get upset, angry, anxious, frightened, nervous over something that unfolds in our life. Instead of understanding that whatever appears in the moment, we all know the saying, it's time to stop doing lip service and do some walking. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Well, what's the teacher? Is the teacher those moments only that confirm the image that I have of myself? Or is the teacher the condition that reveals that the image I have of myself is actually the source of my pain, and that's what has to be let go of?
Yes, I'm with you. And again, I'm having, it's like reading, it's like when I'm reading your book, I have these moments of just complete, like I just put the book down and I just stare and think and allow myself to contemplate exactly what I just read. So that's what's happening here, guys, right
I
in
get
live time.
I get it. And you know what? I want to tell you something. I know we've got people listening, and maybe some people, or maybe all of them, don't have that immediate feeling of, you know what, I heard something, it stirred something in me, and I need to give my attention to the stirring. Listen, because we can make a good point out of this. I can't know that something is true unless already residing in me is its character. That means in any given moment where I am stirred by some truth, I am not suddenly discovering something deep and profound. I am realizing that within me already lives something profoundly deep that has been waiting for me to enter into its life. The more I understand that, what we would call on the positive side, where I read something that moves me deeply, the more I can begin to understand the exact same truth holds when it comes to the conditions in life that I don't want. I am being shown in that moment by the condition, the impression, whatever its particular character may be, I'm being shown in that moment something in myself I didn't know was there the moment before. The person that's negative, who walks into my office, or my husband or wife comes down and they're all upset, they don't create the disturbance in me. They reveal the nature that was there prior to their appearance, waiting to be disturbed. This is why Christ said, love thine enemies, because everything in life will, in fact, reveal to us what is unseen in us, that we might finally start letting go of what no longer serves us in ourselves.
That is absolutely gorgeous. And I wish I could write a ton faster than what I was. And I'm glad that this is being recorded. That was absolutely gorgeous. Actually, I'm going to fast forward to one of the questions. And then I want to come back to this thought of living in the world that is insane, right? Because there is an insane world. You were pointing out at that earlier in terms of, is it sane or is it insane to allow yourself to experience anxiousness, etc. And the world can be very insane overall. Someone who's working in a regular 9 to 5, 8 to 6 corporate position, who's diving deep, wanting to be a better version of themselves, wanting to let go of the fear, the pain that they're experiencing, and they are learning, and they are in the process of uncovering whatever the case may be, and yet they're still surrounded by those folks who are not of their right mind, or who are not operating from their right mind. And we all do this, right? So any suggestions, any thoughts to that?
Look, this is here, listeners, write this down. If and I challenge you to ponder it. Do you know what? And I'll put it first to you, Pamela, in the form of a question. Do you know what the only thing is that troubles us about other human beings? And I mean literally, the only thing that troubles us about other human beings, whether it's somebody at work, somebody in my family, somebody in the restaurant across from me, the waiter, the gal checking out the groceries, the man picking up the trash, whatever it may be. Do you know the only thing that troubles us about other people?
It's the part that we dislike and is a mirror of what is part of us, is who we are.
Well, that's partially true, but I have a more...
yeah, please.
The only thing that troubles me about any other human being is what I want from him. Period.
Wow.
Do you see what that does? If I could understand that deeply, it means that the guy that's rude to me at the office, the gal that's always condescending, when I'm speaking, I talk to men and women. I've been talking to men and women for over, I hate to say, 40 years. I sit out and people don't like much of what I say because it demands responsibility that in turn requires setting down parts of ourselves that no longer serve us. So if I'm looking out at a group of people, or if you're interviewing somebody, listeners, if you're at home and somebody throws you that disapproving look or makes that sarcastic remark across the dinner table, what troubles us in that moment isn't what they've said or done, which, by the way, might be rude and often is because they're in pain. Mm. But it's because I want you to confirm me as I imagine I am and as I think things should go. And when you don't, whether it's by hook, crook, by the way you look, or what you imply, I get negative because your disapproval, your rude behavior challenges my identity. Now listen, stay with me. What kind of identity can be challenged by somebody disapproving of me? A great man I knew, I worked with him while he lived for 15 years, Vernon Howard, a true, genuine, in my opinion, enlightened man, a Christian mystic of the highest order. He said, permitting your life to be taken over by another person is like letting the waiter eat your dinner. Mm. How long are we going to live in a world within ourselves where everyone that we see passing by us can produce an instantaneous pain that, by the way, then drives us to new plans to get better or safer or more powerful? How long are we going to live like that until we start recognizing what we have to do is interior work? Let us use the people, the places, the conditions, yes, the powers and principalities. Let us use those forces to begin to do what we have to do, which is to change our lives from the inside out. That's what letting go is. Mm.
Wow. I think for the first time in 2 years, I'm almost rendered speechless. I really just want to absorb you and not be able to just continue talking myself. Just please keep going.
I'm happy to sit here with you, but the listeners might not.
That's right. Okay, listeners, here we go. I do have questions I would like to ask. Before I continue, though, Guy, would you do me the honor of returning and continuing the conversation at another time?
Oh, of course, Pamela.
Thank you. Okay, so my next question is part of your book, there's a section in your book, and it's called The Bill of Lights.
Yes.
And okay, so I'm going to guess
This,
that's a take on the Bill
this,
of Rights. Let us know what that means.
this is in The Secret of Letting Go, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't have the book in front of me, and I think the first version of that book was released in 1980, no, 90, almost 27 years ago. Then my publisher launched a new edition, maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago. Both times it hit Amazon #1. I'm only peddling here because I'm trying to recall the section.
That's
I
okay.
don't,
I can edit this out and ask another question.
no, 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 no. Look, I don't need to see the written page. The Bill of Lights, is that what it's called?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Look, we've been talking about it. We know the Bill of Rights. You have the right to bear arms, the right for free speech. Inwardly, the Bill of Lights means that you have the light within you to reveal any character in your consciousness that is stealing your right to be free. You have a right to be free, not free the way you imagine freedom, which is the result of acquiring possessions, powers, people. That's not freedom. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, by the way.
Mm,
How great was King Solomon, King David?
mm.
These marvelous prophets in their time owned the world, but their first world was the interior one, their relationship with the divine. That's all I'm saying. When we have the right order of things in our hearts and minds, then we can be given anything that broader intelligence believes will benefit our continued growth in that nature. But if we have it upside down, we don't have any right to complain because we have hitched our wagon to a world where changes in it are going to produce conflict because we're identified with something and now we don't want change. The real life is about embracing change because we are created to be changed in the same moment by that greater movement.
Listeners, the audience, are you getting this? Are you understanding that the connect? And that's what calling the real you is about too. And that's a beautiful, beautiful way of introducing it even further. You know, when you are connected with the real you, your higher self, and you are devoting yourself to the divine, everything does fall into place. And I'm hoping that you have been taking copious notes here today and at least listen to this over and over again, because there's a lot of multiple layers to what Guy is sharing here. One piece of what would you say to somebody that's absolutely beside themselves, right? You know, they've reached their saturation point. What would be the first thing that you would offer up to them?
I'll use you as the advocate, okay?
Yeah.
So, what's the first? When you reach the point, Pamela, and everybody does that. That's another thing. We actually believe we're the only people that suffer. When we're suffering, we have no awareness of any other suffering anywhere. Everything about our hearts and minds points outside of us at the problem. I didn't get the break my brother did. My parents abused me. I went to hell in a handbag with drugs and alcohol. I mean, look, excuses are a dime a dozen. Show me the man or woman who's willing to be responsible in this moment for what they have brought about in their own life. Listen to me. Through a kind of ignorance of their own true nature. Show me someone willing to be responsible like that, and I'll show you someone who will know exactly what to do in that moment when I seem to come into my rope. What do we do? What happens inside of us when everything reaches a fever pitch, Pamela? Inwardly, as best you can. What happens inside of us?
Just despair, just a collapsing of sorts.
We could say, couldn't we, assuming we reach this point where my mind has spun itself has spun a web. What has Shakespeare said? What a wicked web we weave when
Yes.
first we practice to deceive. We're the first one deceived by our own actions.
That's
So here I am. I find myself all caught up in this web. And if my mind finally sees it, listen, everybody, what Pamela is calling despair is a gateway. It is a moment of recognizing that all that I have been and done is powerless to rescue me from all that I have been and done. I'm going to say it again. All that I have been and done is powerless in this moment to rescue me from all that I have been and done. In that moment, we stand at the threshold of really an entrance into the kingdom of heaven. And here's why. For a split second, I see that of myself, I can do nothing. In fact, that everything that I've done has brought me to this point. If that's true, and we can see that, this is why in AA groups and other parallel systems, it's necessary for an individual to reach a stage of what is called being powerless. Being powerless merely means that I can no longer see a way to save myself, and I see that everything I've done to save myself is why I'm in jeopardy right now. So here I am, and I call truth a full contact sport. I'm on my back. If I look up in that moment, what I see is a big empty space. And it seems empty because for a moment, my mind is not filling it with the next plan or promise to escape the prison that it put me in the moment before. Can I stay in that emptiness? You said one feels like one might be losing one's mind. No, what you have found is the gateway to your real mind, which requires being in relationship with another order of intelligence. Did we not say, Pamela, that when we realize a great truth, it isn't that we've discovered it, but rather we've recovered it, because for that moment we can see in ourselves the fact that that understanding already lives in us. Did we not say that? How did we get there? We got there because we stopped giving ourselves answers. You asked me, what do we do? That's the answer. Do nothing. Don't let your mind start planning the next scheme. Don't let a new ambition appear to erase the bitterness that you're sitting in, having realized that all the king's horses and king's men you devised can't put you together. Let it go. Here's the moment where you can discover whether or not you really do have faith. O ye of little faith, said Christ. Why? Because we're the first ones to step in and save ourselves in the moment when everything goes to hell in a handbasket. Stop saving yourself. That's letting go. Do it, and you'll discover there's something that was always there with you, willing to give you a new understanding that has nothing to do whatsoever with a new plan. It's about dying to the old person and discovering a new order of intelligence that's been waiting there all along for you to let go.
Oh, that just lifted a huge weight off my shoulders for some reason. That is amazing. You know, in that, just bear with me, guys. Let me just collect my thoughts here just to stay on the energy and the frequency that Guy is. How lucky are we to be able to have so many opportunities that present themselves, to have the gateway open to us?
Yes.
Right? How lucky are we? We are surrounded, and we create the opportunities of angst and pain, and they're just keys. Oh my goodness, those are the keys to the gateway. And if you allow yourself to be in it and not do anything, and you will experience that next what is it that you're calling the order? What is the order? The next not
The,
divine order, but what's the words that you
no,
use?
that's fine. The proper
The
order.
proper order. That's
Look,
amazing.
we live in the fear that we do in any given moment when it appears, because life seems to have challenged the conditions we have by hook or crook put into place, like a mirror that we can look into, that the mirror actually doesn't reflect who we are. We've painted the image of ourselves on a
Yeah.
mirror so that when we look at it, we go, don't you look good?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the real fact is that life, the changes in life aren't to confront you. They're to show you that you're capable of changing into something new and truer by letting go of what no longer serves your true purpose. So life then becomes a journey where, look, now I'm the first to tell you, this life is a disturbance. We have the mindset, life, there are no disturbances. No, life is a disturbance, but it is a divine disturbance. It is an unending series of revelations produced by an intelligence coming to reveal what is unintelligent or incomplete. Maybe that's a better word.
Mm.
That intelligence is showing me, look, there is a bigger, broader understanding that you can have in this moment beside the one that's fearful, bitter, or clinging as it is, hoping that nothing's going to change.
Mm. Wow. Guy, you are special, beyond special. Everyone, and Guy's actually even giving everyone a gift who's listening. He's offering a 60-minute MP3 titled Five Simple Steps to Make Yourself Fearless. This is as part of his free starter kit. And so there are other gifts as well. But let's just focus on the 5 simple steps with this. And you can have access to it by going to www.guyfinley.org/free. And I'll include the link in the postings as well. What a beautiful, beautiful exchange today, Guy. Thank you so much again for your wisdom and for your courage, for doing the work that you do. And I look forward to having you back and going even deeper. And I'll try not to be as speechless as I normally I'm more talkative, and I know that I'm talking right now, but you definitely did a number on me in a very good way, and I appreciate that about you, and I appreciate the opportunity to learn from you today. So thank you everyone for joining us. Any last minute words of wisdom?
Just that nothing is better than discovering a new possibility. New possibilities are not part of our plans, but appear when our plans fall apart. It's wonderful to have a plan. We need them in the world. We're practical human beings trying to live a decent householder's life. But we have to understand the difference between setting a plan and then letting a greater plan reveal to us where we can live from a different kind of understanding that incorporates disappointment and turns it into new self-knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Wow.
All right.
Thank
Nice
you.
We'll talk again, all right?
Yes, yes, we definitely will. Before you hang up, let me just allow myself to thank the guests one more time for coming. I hope you found today's episode very helpful, everyone. And I wish to thank my husband, Eric Horton, my best friend and business partner, of course, Lux Salon and Spa, Yola Portraits, Karen D. Felice Designs, and the transformational music by Jim Oliver, my good friend. Thank you again, Guy, for spending a few extra minutes here with us today. And I'll be in touch, and we'll schedule another time.
Sounds great, Pamela. Be well.
You as well. Bye, everyone. Thank you.